Oh, hi, didn't see you there. Welcome. This is Draco, and today I'll be bringing you yet another Modern League with the Mono Blue Merfolk. And today is going to be a pretty interesting one because we are going to get some really hard matches. It seems like the meta game is starting to form after the Lurrus Ban, and today we get to meet a lot of the big contenders, some of the decks that we really need to be good at fighting and combating in the future, as these decks will probably dominate. Today we're going to play against Murktide, not only once but twice. We're going to play against Living End. We saw issues with that from the last game, from the last tournament we played. We're going to meet the 4-color Yorion Control deck that plays all the expensive spells, and of course Yorion, so the moneypile deck. And then of course Crashing Footfalls, which is also looking really strong at the moment. There could be other decks mentioning, but in general I just want to say that from when we started playing a lot after the Lurrus Ban, where everything was up in the air, I see patterns now. Things are starting to adjust to a certain meta. The decks are starting to show themselves, the big decks. And we got, as a Merfolk now, an opportunity to start adapting a bit more to the meta game. So today I'm going to take you through small adjustments I did, but I'm continuously adjusting the deck, and I'm actually thinking some of the big things we need to consider. Is Spreading Seas as good as it was earlier? Maybe not. Maybe we need another couple of answers against Cascade decks. We have had some issues with Living End. We have had some issues with playing against Crashing Footfalls. So in the following couple of weeks, I'll start tuning the deck a bit more to the meta game. But when I do that, of course, I want to be sure that I don't do too much at the same time. So I do it slowly and I test a little at the time. So today I'm actually going to talk a bit about the deck before we go into the action from the 5 games we had in the Modern League. But of course, as always, if you like what I do, give a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also notice that of course I have the Twitter where I'll be posting a lot of my content, and the Twitch where you can watch me live, and follow me there as well. So let's get into talking a bit about the deck and the adjustments we've been doing. So as you can see here, this deck is still kind of the same deck, small adjustments initially, and we're going to do a lot more. One of the things we can definitely see is that hammer time is declining. I don't get to meet a lot of hammer time. I don't get to meet a lot of artifact decks. So I actually think that Thieving Skydivers are declining in value from the sideboard. Of course, still a consideration, as people are still, because now hammer time can play sort of one piece, stuff like that. Or sort of fire and ice, of course. So Thieving Skydivers are still relevant, but I think in less so. So consideration here. In this deck list, we also want to run a couple of Chalice of the Voids, and running Chalices means that we probably want to have more caverns. Chalice of the Void in the sideboard against Cascade decks. I'm getting a lot of inputs on other techs, but we're gonna test Chalice from the sideboard today. And that's the only changes we started out by doing here. But we're gonna do a lot more changes, a lot more adjustments. So this deck is still running some of the old tech with the 8 Seas effect and 8 Lord effects. I really like that. But today we're gonna see something that also makes us consider going a bit down on the Spreading Seas. But let's get into the action. Let's get into the action. Okay. New Modern League, fresh one, right out the oven, freshly baked, and we see this hand right away. It looks great. We got double tide chippers, so hopefully we can play against something like Tron, and an Ether Vial. So even though it's not crazy good, I think it's decent to keep this hand. An Ether Vial on one, you never go entirely wrong. And we're up against Hocus Pocus. Hopefully he won't be doing any magic tricks on us. Spirebluff Canal into Ragavan. Ooh, the kind of start you never really want to see. That monkey is back. So this is Murktide. It might be different decks, but it looks like it could be Murktide. We draw Otavara. And considering again, are we playing down the Tidechipper to block, or are we playing the Ether Vial? Both plays can be argued for. The problem for me with playing the Tidechipper is that then the Ether Vial is just going to burn in hand, and he might even have a removal spell for the Tidechipper. They probably always do, right? So if you just use a removal spell on it, he'll still get in. So I'm considering here, is it better to get the blocker down, where you just might get burned out? Or is it better just to get the Vial up and running? Because the next turn we can play a kick Tidechipper and Vial the other Tidechipper into play. So this gives us a bit more of hedging against the Ragavan. But that's of course dangerous, because then you're letting yourself get hit by a Ragavan. And we hate getting hit by that pesky monkey. So, but we'll do it anyways. And aggressively force a negation. Woo! He went out the gates hard for this one. Hocus Pocus doing the tricks. And then he comes in with a Ragavan. And he finds a Tidechipper. Oh, annoying. Of course, this is not as bad as them finding Sverloon and stuff like that, but Tidechipper is still bad, as this is simply just a 2/2 for 1, which is actually kind of annoying for us. So really bad start, and he even also follows it up with a Dragon Rage Channeler. So we're on the back foot right away. In this situation, we need to get blockers down, and because he has Steam Vents, our Tidechippers are 2/2s, and he has perfect mana. So let's just get him down to fight him. 2 2/2s down, and then we drew the Sverloon. That could be pretty good for next turn. Lightning Bolt, and really nice Lightning Bolt. I love the old art, old border Lightning Bolt, and he comes in with the Tidechipper and the Ragavan, and we'll of course trade off with the Ragavan. Still we're taking damage, and he missed a land drop. Unlucky for us, he has the counterspell for the Sverloon, but we had no real other place. Glass Woman couldn't copy anything. So now it's looking like he has the perfect draw here. He can even follow up with a dashed Ragavan, bringing us down to 9. Luckily he can't play the Sverloon. We find a Spreading Seas. Again, discussing adjusting the deck, adapting to the meta. I think that Spreading Seas against Murktide is kind of a dead card. It is, because they have natural islands, they have a really strong mana base. I don't think we will successfully be able to deny them mana. So in this particular matchup, it's just really not a good card. So not much we can do here. He'll beat us down, and we're looking like we are on to game 2. And I think Murktide looks strong. It's always been a big fan of the deck. The consideration is we can Otawara our own Tidechipper, or we could Otawara the Dragon Rage Channeler. We can Otawara something, but we're not looking great. We're not looking great. He has a Brazen Borer, so okay, fair enough. You get it, bro. You are way in front now. This needs to be a good card. Hocus Pocus. Okay, so something we've been interested in, and of course the Kira from the sideboard is decent. We have the Subtleties, which are good against Murktide, and we could also use them against an early Ragavan we don't want to have to fight with. The Relics are good. The Chalice of the Void is a tech I've been testing out. Can Chalice on 1 be really good here? There's potential, because if you play a Chalice on 1, like half of that deck is like 1 cost, and they won't be able to play a lot of their spells. So Chalice on 1 could be strong. Of course, we want to get in the Brazen Borer to bounce the Murktide, so that's fine. And because we're taking in Kira and 2 Brazen Borers, we can take out a Sverloon, that's fine. And of course, we take out all the Spreading Seas. And then we're satisfied, so we need to adjust a bit. We take out 1 Master and 1 Subtlety. When taking out a Lord, it's better to take out the Master in this specific matchup, because him playing a Lord will buff our team. So think about that for Murktide. One of the things that is hard from us in the Murktide matchup is because the Ragavan hits mean that they often will be able to play these cards, because they have natural blue mana. Okay, risky keep here. We have double Mutavault into a Glassblue Mimic, but I think it's fine as we also have the Ether Vial. So we are a bit slow out the gates, but now we have a potential tide chipper, we can Ivile in, but we draw the Cavern, which is great. The Cavern allows us to go in aggressively on his mana. And notice that he played a Fiery Islet on turn 1, and that for me signals that this is his only red source. Because why would he play the Fire Islet? If he had any other red source, he would play with that. So potentially tide chippering the Fire Islet could be a nuisance for him. He plays Consider, can get his Surveil trigger up. Murktide goes to the graveyard. Ragavan goes to the graveyard, all the good stuff. He's searching for something, and he finds an island. Another Consider. He's really searching, so it seems like our strategy here is going well. So even though I had that long speech about us not being able to screw with their mana, it seems like his poor draw actually allows us to do that. But this means that we have an opportunity of beating down, and here we get the perfect opportunity. We can unhindered trick in, violin the Lord, and copy it with the Glassblade Mimic. This is one of my favorite plays, doing that this naturally from a turn 1 Ether Vial into a turn 3 copy Vial Glassblade Mimic. He does have a subtlety for the Glassblade Mimic, and he needs to do that now. Good play by him, but it's still fine for us. We still get a Lord in, we still put pressure on, and he gets us a 2-for-1. So nothing I can say here that's it's not too bad. Not too bad indeed. And we can beat in. Unblockable 33. Back to you, Hocus Pocus. You Oboro, you are banned, sir. Oh, Oko. It's Oko. It's the Oko avatar. Petty Theft on the... Is it playing on the Ether Vial? Yeah, he's targeting the Ether Vial with Petty Theft. So he doesn't want us to get more value. He tries to stall us a bit, and he is actually stumbling on mana. We draw the perfect draw. So now we can actually both Glassblade Mimic and replay the Vial. And we still have a Merfolk Trickster for future interactions. Use another subtlety. It's funny that they actually cite subtlety in against us, or a Hocus Pocus did. Maybe it's because it looks like it's kind of a magic trick, you know? Doing that, oh, without any mana. Ah, what a trick. But I actually don't think it's that good. Is it really that good to subtlety a Glassblade Mimic? I don't think so. I think more removal would be better. Now he can Unholy Heat the Lord, and actually, because he drew that and he found the red source and had the Unholy Heat in his hand, now he's getting us a bit down. But the Dragonrich Channeler does not have Delirium yet, and we have double Mutavault. And now the Glassblade Mimic is really not that interesting anymore. Notice that we took it back on top, of course, both times from the subtlety. Maybe for the second time for the subtlety, we should have maybe just put it on the bottom. I think just it makes a lot of sense when you have a Lord out to put it on top, and he then found the red source for the removal spell. You could be drawing a land, so I think it's better to draw the Glassblade Mimic. And in this situation, it's still fine. Next turn we can Trickster, double Trickster. And he shoots he takes out the Tide Chipper. So now he has actually 2 red sources, but only 3 life, so not too bad, not too bad. How far is he from Delirium? I think it's only 1 card. He gets it, I think he gets it from putting the Dragonrich. No, not yet. He didn't get it here. Crazy that he can't get Delirium for his Dragonrich Channeler. And we find his value. But I think in this situation, he's on 0 card. Let's just Trickster in, block, tap it down, and attack with both Mutavaults. We did it. 1-1. Okay. Anything want to change? I think it's fine. Everything looks fine here. Don't think there's too much reason to change anything. Now we are on the draw. So the counterspells for me is worse on the draw. We lost the die roll, of course, as he is choosing now. This hand, yeah, definitely nice. We have the Adept, and we can even play down the Tide Chipper on 1. He has the Spiralbluff Canal, but... Oh, Relic, even better. Even better, what a great draw. Tide Chipper on 1 is cool and all, but Relic is much better, especially with Dragonrich Channeler. We want to get that value on, keeping him on low cost. So 1-1 against Murktide and Dragonrich Channeler versus Relic. Let's see how it goes here. Okay, interesting. He took the damage from the Steam Vents. He's steaming along, and passed here. So this really looks like a counterspell. So playing down the Adept here, maybe it's just fine. It's just putting down a threat. That could be a play. We could also try to put down the Tide Chipper. We could also put 2 Tide Chippers down. So either you pass the turn and Trickster his end step, or you could consider, I think Adept is a bad play, because then you just get the counterspell, and that's pretty bad. But double playing Tide Chipper, we can't get him off mana anyway, and this is just playing two 2/2s down. And if he had the counterspell, he could only counter one of them, so I think that's fine. And now we just get a lot of pressure on. I don't know if he had the counterspell, but he does have a consider. Putting the Alpine Moon, it's back in the graveyard. Now, of course, as soon as he has something in the graveyard, we can check it out. He does have the lightning bolt. Oh. That's my good morning clock. I need to get up and get to work. Do more content. Express Restoration. That's a great card. Well played, sir. What can you find? He puts Murktide region into his graveyard. And it looks like he's closing in on Delirium. He needs a land here. What will he find? Ragavan. And he can play Scalding Tarn. Now, because Express Restoration went in, Dragon's Channeler is up and flying, up in the air. One of the reasons we didn't really want to go for the Merfolk Trickster play in our own turn is that Merfolk Trickster is one of the best cards against Dragon's Channeler. Luckily we draw a land here. This is really good. I don't think it's correct to either you wait and use Trickster to check out the Dragon's Channeler, or you just play out Adept and say we can trade with the Ragavan and accept to take 1 more damage. I think this is fine because he can't really attack profitably, as we can just use Relic and empty his yard. So there's the consideration just to pass and let him attack, because he needs to attack. He can only attack with the Dragon's Channeler, not a choice he has. And then we can empty the graveyard and leaving the Dragon's Channeler as a 1/1. That could be a pretty good play. But drawing the Ether Vial here is also really tempting. I hate having Ether Vial in hand. I want to get it on board, but right now Relic activation is maybe the stronger play. But he does have 4 cards, so maybe he can remove everything. And we go for the Relic. And I think it's actually better to Relic now, because then he can't play a Murktide in his turn, and he can't get any up and running. Because the problem with passing and letting him attack with Dragon's Channeler is that then he can just play the Murktide in his first main phase, and then Dragon's Channeler doesn't have to attack. So I think that even though that line was tempting, I think he won't. If he had a Murktide, which it looked like he had, as he had 1 in graveyard, I think it's better to take the safe pass here, and he just passes a turn. He just plays Miserable. Yeah. Okay, Brazen Borrow here. So we have the Chalice, and we can't really do anything else, but we can put down the Chalice on 1, but then he could just resolve all our spells. We put down the Ether Vial, we're gonna get that up. And I think the Chalice on 1 is decent here, because now we played our Ether Vial, so we don't have anything else we want to do. And in this situation, now the Chalice looks really great. So testing out here, a Chalice against Murktide, pretty cool. Unluckily, he had the Ancient Grudge instantly. Ancient Grudge? Are you really selling that in against us? Bro, what are you doing? Is it for the Ether Vial? But pretty cool tech. I think it's nice that the Ancient Grudge is back. I remember that from the original Innistrad. Another Express Federation. He gets a lot of value here. So actually, I think he's turning it back our ways, his own way here. I think we needed to get some value from the Chalice. So now he can attack in for 3. And next turn, I think we need to do something against the Dragon's Channeler. We get the Vial up and running though, so that's pretty good. Drawing a land, nice. Now we can hold up Subtlety, and we can even both Brazen Borrow and Trickster. So drawing a land there is pretty good. And if we want to do that, should we attack here? Considering attacking just with Adept, he's not going to block anyway. Oh, he did. So maybe he has another Ragavan. But he has a Ragavan in graveyard. Okay. No worries. Not a big hassle to trade that trade. He attacks in. And now we go for the Trickster play, with a Tide Chipper as a backup blocker, so he needs to have 2 remove spells. But he has a counter spell, Mystical Dispute. Okay, pretty strong play. Nice tech, getting the Mystical Dispute in from the sideboard. This card is so strong against us, being able to counter a blue spell, or mana league a blue spell for only one blue mana. And of course we can't pay it here. So instead, we don't want to just do nothing the rest of our turn. So we could consider Brazen Borrowing, but then we would be vulnerable to Murktide. If he plays a Murktide post-combat, I really want to Brazen Borrow that, and he does not. So we go to our next turn, and Mutavault, decent draw. Now we have the option both to borrow and play borrower, so we can Petty Theft and play borrower, and now we can get down our master. Going in for 3, he goes down to 10, so it's 10-10. Interesting, it's tight. You do your tricks, Hocus Pocus, and I do mine. He uses Dragon Rage, Unholy Heat on the master. This is decent, but it's kind of awkward here because Dragon Rage Channeler, we needed to get the Trickster to take that one out. He has 4 cards in hand. He should have the Murktide, and we can't really just take 3 damage each turn here. So either we block with Brazen Borrower or bounce with Brazen Borrower. So that could be a combination, or we just play the Subtlety to ambush it. And I actually like that play more because Brazen Borrower is good against Murktide as well, and it also gives us a 3/3. And I actually think this is not, it's two pretty bad plays, tough place to be in. But this is the lesser of the 2 evils, but he has a removal spell. But I think we need to do something at that point. We need to be aggressive and try to take out the Challenger. Okay, we draw into another Lord. Pretty good. So now we can actually activate Mutavault and cheat in the Lord, the Master from the Vial, and getting him down, hitting him down for potentially down to 4 here. And with the Brazen Borrow up, we do have a tempo play ready, lined up and ready. So now we take the fight to him. What can you do? Do I have more removal? It doesn't seem so. Okay, so you're saying there's a chance. He cracks the Scalding Tarn, going down to 3 now. Now we have 2 lethal threats. And the Breeding Pool, so now he can actually Ancient Grudge from the yard. Our Aether Vial doesn't matter, it's not important. Luckily we do have the Petty Theft ready. We gotta steal something from you, Hocus Pocus. He dashes Ragavan, okay. Pretty good, so he did have the Ragavan, that makes sense. And he attacks in. The Master is decent. We want that because that'll allow us to have 2 lethal threats next turn. So we wanna bounce something back with Petty Theft. You can either bind Dragon Rage Channeler or Ragavan. Dragon Rage Channeler will leave us down to 4, and that's okay. That's only a lightning bolt away, and the Ragavan could potentially be a really strong card he gets. So I think it's better to bounce the Ragavan. It won't be able to block because of the Island Walk anyway. So let's just take the 3 damage. This Dragon Rage Channeler has just been a 3/3 unblockable, 1 mana from the start of the turn, but he doesn't have an answer. So it was the correct play to do, and we managed to beat out Murktide, and we're up 1-0. But it's so crazy to play against these decks because you never know when is the Murktide coming in, when do they have the removal spell, and if he had hit us with Ragavan and hit something like maybe, what could he hit from us? I don't know, but something like a Svealoon or something that could even block. Yeah, so we managed to get there. And we won our first match in the league. But I think it's interesting looking at the meta now. I think there are some clear big winners. I think that the 4-color Control, Omnath, Yorion, moneypile deck, strong deck, definitely. We played against that last time as well. We managed to eke out a win there, even though he ambushed our Kira with the little snaky guy, the Icefang Quaddle. Okay, so this guy, you can immediately see he double streaked with. So this is Living End because he also had the Curator, and here we need to make his island into an island. Indeed, so. This situation doesn't really matter. I want to get the Mutavault down, but we could might as well just use a kicker. Okay, so he gets down the Botelican Sanctum, and this looks strong. He has already 5 creatures in the yard, so we need to try to see if we can take him off green. In this situation, we have no answer to Living End, so we just hope that he doesn't have another green source. and he does, and he can play a Shardless Agent. And this is just it, because we would never be able to get back from that. Rough start here, he just had the perfect draw. It was like 5 or 6 creatures he got in, and we would get nothing in, and next time we can play a Svalloon, but that would be too slow. He will win in 2 turns. So we get in the Relics, we get in the Counterspells, we get in the Fortification, and of course the 2 Chalice, which are in the sideboard because of Cascade. We take out the Spreading Seas, they will play that effect no matter what. So this hand, okay, it's a keeper. We do have the Glasspool Mimic we can play on turn 1. We do have the Force Negation and the Counterspell, so we have double solution for that. And let's just get back one of the Lords here. Now we play the control game, and I think this is a good place to be. We just need to be able to counter their threats. The difference between Living End and Rhinos is that Rhinos is more like a mid-range deck that can function without resolving the Cascade effect. They do have a lot of powerful spells, Teferis, and, or not Teferis, but they have Fury and all sorts of other plays they can do. So in this situation we can freely play out a Lord and get some pressure on, because he won't be able to resolve the Cascade effect yet. They need 3 mana to do either Violent Outburst, the instant speed one, or Shardless Agent, as we saw the first time here. So in this situation, let's just beat in, and now we have double Force Negation and Counterspell. I think we need to be able to counter something here. So we go to our end step, and he just cycles a Street Wraith, now having 2 creatures in the yard. So our counterspells need to do the work here, but we do have a lot of counterspells. He cracks a Misty in end step, find a Breeding Pool. So let's see what he can do here. He uses a Grief. A Grief. Okay, pretty cool tech. In this situation, we really don't want to counter this, because it would pretty much doing the same. He's going to take one of our counterspells. Of course, he's going to get the knowledge that we have these counterspells. So there could be a consideration to use counterspell, but then we won't be able to have a Force Negation up and running. And we would need to pitch the Silver Gallade to the Force Negation. Okay, anyways, he takes the counterspell, that's fine. And now he has perfect information, so this is not looking good. You could argue for using the counterspell at that point, and then just hopefully he would go out. I think that might be better. But we draw a counterspell here, and in our draw step he uses the Violent Outburst. Pretty good play. We can of course counter it, and we might as well just use our Force Negation to counter the Living End. But we don't like this situation, as we are now vulnerable. And what does he do here? He has his own Force Negation. One of the big issues with these just 1-for-1 counter magic strategies we use here is that they have their own counter magic. They have their own Force Negation main deck. So when they do this intelligently in our draw step, not much we can do. In this situation, we're just so far behind. He can hit us in here for 10. We go to 10, and I can't really see what we should be able to draw here. So good play by T-Brand L99, and we won one. So one of the big things we need to be aware of is the Cascade decks. I saw the card market video featuring Andrea Mengucci, who also told a bit about the decks that he saw was the big winners and the decks to beat in the metagame at the moment. And an honorable mention was all the Cascade decks. And also from looking at the different types of leagues, we see Cascade decks doing really well. And I think we need a stronger plan than what we have here with the 2 Cascade and the counterspell. So some of the things we'll be testing out is Chalice with Void more, using see how that effect can stack up against all these Cascade effects. It's of course really strong in game 1, but in game 2 and 3 they'll probably have answers to it. But there can be other things you could be doing against the Cascade decks. But we need to have a game plan against them, because I think we can race them. Sometimes we can we can put the pressure on, but other times they will be able to do it like this. Okay, let's see if we can get a third match here. 1-1, 1-1 in the league. We beat Hocus Pocus, and we got beaten by T-Brand, who played it really well. And I think the Living End deck is strong at the moment. Okay, we up against Slaman Scott. Slaman Scott. And we will play first. Nice hand. This is one of the hands that really makes me be happy that I'm playing Merfolk. When looking at this hand, it's so beautiful. You can get out the Vial on 1, the Adept on 2, and both Svelune and Master on 3. So this is just a perfect curve out. Let's see if we can relay that into a quick victory here. Yeah, let's get the Vial out. Oh yeah, we should be passing. I don't know. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, up to you, Slaman. Slaman's got Flooded Strand. Flooded Strand. Flooded Strand. And we see Yorion, Temple Garden, Abundant Growth. So we are up against the moneypile deck. 80 card, Yorion, Omnath, Teferis, Solitude. All the good stuff. And now turn, we can get so Spreading Seas on the Temple Garden doesn't really do anything. That's one of the great things about the Abundant Growth. Is the Abundant Growth also is one of the things that is annoying when you're playing Spreading Seas, because it's, even though they're playing a 4-color mana base, it's so difficult to mana deny them. Even something like Blood Moon doesn't work against Abundant Growth, because then the land would still be able to produce any kind. Notice here we play the Master instead of the Adept. This is simply because of Ren 6. If they play Ren 6 and take out of Adept, we would be far behind. And the Temple Garden means that they need, if they had a Ren 6, they could play it here. Perhaps they didn't, but didn't really matter. We just choose to start with the Master. Let's just beat in here. And now we can play down Svelune. Pretty neat. And we got the Silvergill Adept in storage here. Let's see what he does. He cracks the Flooded Strand, finds the Snow-Covered Plains. And Teferi, probably bouncing the Adept. We don't need to Vial in, because it's only spells. We can still use the Vial, but he actually bounces the Vial. Interesting. Now we use it, of course, but I think that simplifies that he probably has some sort of answer to Svelune. And here comes Subtlety, and notice that we drew the Subtlety from the Adept. Thank you, Silvergill Adept. This is of course the perfect situation, because oh yeah, of course we couldn't use the Subtlety because of the Teferi effect. Ah, damn. And now he plays the Fury. I totally forgot this. This is such a blowout. And this is some of the powerful things these guys can do, right? I know it's two for one he's giving me, but being able to start with Solitude, with Teferi protecting it from Subtlety, so now our Subtlety even doesn't even work. So strong. And then the Fury following it up and killing off the Master and the Adept. We had a great board, and now we have nothing. The Solitude could have been the perfect protection against the Solitude. It was beautiful lined up, but the Teferi is so strong. Not being able to play any spells at instant speed is I think a much stronger effect than they thought it was when they designed him. I think it's a really cool card, Teferi, but it's really powerful. Luckily for us, we have a Mutavault. And this Mutavault is about to do some work, because taking off the Teferi at this point is fine. It's really good, actually. And we can get down the Mute with the Vial. Some would argue a lackluster turn, but notice that he used a lot of energy on this. So when you're in these kind of situations where people do these heavy blowouts, it looks crazy. They double Elemental and Teferi and all the value card. but he discards a lot of cards and exiles a lot of cards from his hand. And you know, he uses his turn now to take off the Bosaic you using on the Ethervile, and yeah, it's fine, but it's not a catastrophe. And in our situation now, we still have a pretty good situation where we can actually both play either Lord and Sverloon. We can also just play the Sverloon, and we can also use Spreading Seas. One of the key things here is using the Spreading Seas can be interesting, because right now he only have one red. The Temple Garden can give red, the Forest can give green. So actually, if he needs to play Omnath, he needs to find either a red or a green. He doesn't have it right now. He can play the red from the Temple Garden, the white and the blue and the green. So he can play Omnath now. But if he use Spreading Seas on the Forest, he will have 2 blue. And hopefully, if he doesn't have a red or a blue, would be able to maybe take him off Omnath here. This is pretty interesting. Let's do that and take the Sverloon down. Sverloon is fine here, because if he can take it out, he can take it out with some of the, you know, March or Solitude or stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter with Indestructible, but he does have the Teferi he plays in his turn, and now we need to Solitude it just for the tempo. No more Teferi. What does he do with it? On top of his library. Okay, so it's coming back. But we get to hit in here with Sverloon, and even drawing here the Master is great. Now we can get in for 7, and we can't play the Force. But now his Teferi play will be bad. And now he can of course, now he plays the Teferi again, but see if he can find a solution. He bounces the Teferi, or he bounces the Sverloon. I dismember, not a good draw. I would love to have something here, but let's just attack with both creatures on him. This is potentially lethal. But just have a Lightning Bolt for the Mutavault, and he will go down to 2. And we are all in now, so let's just get the Sverloon down. Let's get the Sverloon down. Okay. Now the Omnath comes in. Interesting. If he has a land here, he can get 4 life. He draw a card. He didn't find a land. Okay, perfect. So we are up 1 in the first game of match 3 against the Moneypile. We managed to beat them last time, so let's see if we can take it back here and do it again. Back to back could be cool against the best deck. I think it's right now, the Moneypile deck is probably the best deck in the format. I think they also have a pretty good matchup against Murktide. So I think they're looking strong. They also used all of their childhood savings on the deck, so it's like insanely expensive, that deck right now. How much is it? Okay, so against this matchup, we want Kiras because of all the removal. Dismembers is good against Omnath. And Subtleties is great because it'll take care of all the elementals when they don't have Teferi, of course. Not when they have Teferi. This hand, no island. This is a difficult keep. I think you can argue to keeping it, even though it's suboptimal. The Ethervile again is such a great card, and we have 2 draws to draw an island. So I think even though it's a pretty bad not to have any islands or blue sources, I think it could be a keep. You can also consider saying it might be too risky. But we keep it. Okay, so we draw the Spreading Seas. And you can argue siding them out, but I think you can sometimes, if they don't have the opponent growth, you can manage screw them a bit. So he did have the prismatic ending, and this is kind of awkward. So now our draw looks like it's backfiring because he could take out our Ethervile. That was of course one of the considerations when keeping such a greedy hand, is that if you don't draw your source and he has an answer to the Ethervile, then it's a bad situation. Okay, let's draw it now. We got it. Okay, so That's fine. We didn't miss a land drop, and now we can play down the adept. What are we showing? Tide Shaper or Master? We just show the Tide Shaper. 3 Svalloons. I think this is enough guards of sea and sky. I think the sea and the sky are both handled by guards now. I don't think we need any more. And now he finds the Wren. And this is exactly the play I'm talking about. This is kind of, a good play by him. But again, we get value from the Mutavault, and I just want to say that I really like being able to do this kind of thing with Mutavault. Yeah, good play by him, but we can instantly get his Renner 6 off the board from the Mutavault. But he uses Solitude. Okay, pretty crazy. But again, he's giving us just 2 for 1 for the Mutavault to protect his Renner 6, and we can play down the Ethervial. And he's only on 2 cards. Oof, but one of the cards is Omnath. Urgh. Now we are far behind. And he can Ren 6 find back his Flutterstrand. And Ren 6 is just being a card engine here, which means that he can get a lot of life back. And produce a lot of mana. What can he do with the mana? He puts Yorion in hand. Good old flying Yorion. A big sky nomad. We draw the Mimic, kind of awkward. So now we just need to Spreading Seas or Tide Shaper, because that's the only place we can do. If we're Spreading Seas, we can draw a card, which could be good. And then we can just violin the Tide Shaper, so that might be better. And now we're considering, is there any land that makes sense to hit, but he has just perfect mana. And this is also, the Spreading Seas in this matchup is not really that interesting. You can notice here that we might have stalled him a bit in the previous game. But I don't necessarily think that he had the Omnath, because it took some time for him to play it. And you can see they just have so many good mana. And the abundant growth especially. So he can hit us in here for 4. And we need to, of course, violin the Tide Shaper. And then we can, actually, next turn we can have an indestructible Svalloon in play. So hopefully he doesn't have too much here from all the mana he gets. It's just the Yorion. It's the Yorion. It's not just the Yorion. It's pretty good. And we take up the vial. Okay, so we got draw Trickster. What can we use that for? Not much. I think it's still better to get. We play this Svalloon. Counterspell. This is a rough one. We do have more Svalloons, and here we can try to see if we can get the Ren 6 in control, but he can use Veil of Summer. Pretty much, yeah. This is just cycling the Veil of Summer. Interesting play. We're tapped out, and he can use Poseu pretty good here, because Ethervial was doing work for us. And getting it even back with Ren 6. One of the big engines from Ren 6 is recursing the Poseu. That's really strong. So, good play by Slum and Scott. I think it's looking difficult. This one we are on 10. We need to be able to block the Omnath. Of course, playing down the Svalloon is pretty good. And then we can kill off the Ren 6. So, to make sure we get the Ren 6 out here, we just attack both creatures into Ren 6. He's on 25, so it doesn't really matter with the life total. And we can do the Svalloon and even have an activation up. I think activation for Mutavault, being indestructible, is better than playing the Vial at this moment. So he plays down land. Yeah, getting a lot of value out of the Omnath. And now Icefang Quaddle. It's also a really good card. And the Yorion comes in. He can't attack with the Omnath now, but we are on 2 now. And the Icefang Quaddle is just too much now, because that's also kind of almost lethal in the air. And we draw a Trickster, so we do have a Trickster here. We are attacking in. And draw a Mutavault. So we can. The optimal play would be to Trickster the Yorion to tap it down, or Trickster the Yorion to get it to be something we can block. but we are so far behind at this moment. Let's just play the Mutavault down and then be ready with the Trickster. But we are losing this game heavily. We need to have answers for both the Iceman Quaddle and the Yorion. We are on 2 HP. And he's on 20. So the Omnith are giving him too much life, and he even finds more here. So it's 28 life effectively from the Misty Reinforce. So this is not looking good. And the Rensex, oof, not good. You don't use the Rensex, and a second in here is a problem because, of course, we should have tapped down pre-combat the Yorion, but I don't think it matters because even if we tapped down the Yorion, we couldn't block the Iceman Quaddle, and the Rensex can shoot us for 1. So this is just a lost game. So yeah. Okay, we are back. Game 3. So we are 1-1. We get a decent hand here. And we can play down the tide here, but they have natural islands, so I think it's fine just to get it down. And let's follow up with a Lord. It could be fine to have an option of using Tide Shaper as a way of getting off the mana. Could be okay. Any Furies? This is the reason why we have Subtlety, right? So the Fury is great here because you can take both the Lord and the Tide Shaper out of play. But instead we can do this, and the Rensex can't really do much here. So we just place that down. Svedun is a great draw. Now our board is looking strong here. And considering here, should we attack in on Rensex to get it out the way, or should we put him down to 11? That's a big decision. Of course, putting him down to 11 means that he could be dead next turn because of the Mutavault attack. But with 5 cards in hand and this deck being so strong, I don't think there's any chance that he won't be able to do anything against us for next turn. So I actually think that getting the Rensex out of the way could be a potential play here. We have a dominant position, we have a dominant board, but he might be able to do something crazy. We saw in the first game him doing multiple crazy resolve of elementals like Solitude and Fury. So I think it's better to take our easy kill on Rensex and attack both of them in, and then let him do his thing here. So he plays a Flooded Strand into a Snow Covered, and he can use Teferi Time Reveler, bouncing the Svelun. Okay, good play, but not too worried about it. We got the option here to play down the Svelun again. So if he he didn't use any removal spells, so we can take out the Teferi with the Lord and put him to 12 from the Tide Shaper. And now we put Yorion in hand. Ooh, now it's looking good. Oh, but that's to pitch to Solitude and then removing Svelun. Okay, great play by him. Nice done. Slam stack, and then he can Fury again. Oh my, so he does it again. Well played here. Putting the Yorion in hand, pitching to Solitude, and Fury pitching another red card. And we draw land. Not good, but Water Grove is not the worst to draw, as we can cycle it into another card. It's a Vidaval though, but he's on 2 cards. He used a lot of things, and a Mutavault really lets us be in this game. He plays the Iceman Quaddle, and right now no Death Touch, and he then but the Wooded Foothills makes him be able to find. Then he can find one, but here he needs to find 2, and actually 2. He can find 2 more Snow Covered. So a Mutavault is right now able to attack, as the Iceman Quaddle doesn't have Death Touch. They only have 2 Snow Covered planes. Okay, close game this. He finds a Scorpion Tarn, and the Scorpion Tarn can find a Snow Covered Forest. So really good, or a Snow Covered Island. So really good. We find the Lord here. Great draw. Now we can attack him for 3, and we're suddenly doing it. He's only 1 card in hand. He cracks the... and now he has the Iceman Quaddle value up and running. But look at this. Because of the Spreading Seas we played on the Riagroom, he can play his Solitude. This is really insane. We played it exactly on the right control because we want to get him off having double white. Now he draws his Windswept Heath, but the Windswept Heath can't find a white source that he won't get killed by because he's on 3. So he's only have 1 basic land, so we can surely attack in for Moonwall for 3 here. So getting that Spreading Seas on the Raglan Tram was clutch, as now down he only had access to 1 white source, and you can see in his hand he was tapping it. He did have the Solitude, he did have it, but because he wasn't able to play it, and then he found a fetch land on 3 life, that was really nice. So we're up to 1. Great to take down the 4-color Omnath Yorion deck, those are great. And now we get to meet up with Manu Rats 777. Hello Manu. Decent starting hand. You just love a hand with either Vile on 1, right? And Spycraft Canal. So Dragon Rage Channeler, Mistress Bubble. So this looks like it's Murktide again. We beat Murktide last time, and he puts his Ragavan into hand, or I mean into the graveyard. So we back battling against these crazy good red 1-drops. Cavern, yeah, that could be relevant against Murktide. Okay, so we can do different things here. We could take him off red, potentially. That could be a play. The Lord will probably just be taken out by a burn spell. So let's see if we can take him off red, and actually plays a blue source. So is this really the story repeating itself? Are we really doing it here? Yeah, it seems like he's pretty off. He could have a counter spell. So in this situation, we want to use the vial so we can counter it. And we can also, of course, play a Glass Pool Mimic, but then he would be able to counter it. He would also be able to... yeah, he has no red, so he can't really kill the added, which is... There's an argument just to play the Glass Pool Mimic, but you can also just play the Lord. So, different types of options here. Also, considering should we play the Otavara or should we play the Warlock Grove? So... Because he's no red mana, I think it's correct to get the Mimic down, copying the adept, just drawing a card, and playing the Warlock Grove is fine. We can take 1 point of damage. It's just the Otavara can be a really good card against Murktide. Bouncing that big dragon is strong. He didn't find a red source, so the Spreading Seas is actually doing work here. I would say in general, I don't think it's the best against Murktide, but now 2 games against Murktide, in 2 different games we managed to stall them on the mana, so I won't complain. Okay, yeah, we're gonna put it up to 3 here, because then we can put in the Glassbone Mimic, and the Lord is still counterable, even though he could have Archmage's Charm here because of the Cavern, so the Cavern is doing work. Let's get that 1 down, and then we can actually double Lord from the Ether Vial. That's the reason why this play is so good, putting the Ether Vial up to 3. Because the Cavern is on Merfolk, so it works for the Lord. We can attack in, and we have double Lord. And he can't beat that. So stalled him on his red mana, and then board out really nicely, and being uncounterable. We get in the Relics, we get in the Brazen Borrows to bounce the Murktide, and we take out Force Negation. Not enough good big spells. We're taking Kira, and even though Spreading Seas was good here, it's good to cut them. And when you then have all the 3-drops, I think it's fine just to cut one of the Svealoons. That can be an argument, but I think it's fine just to get one of them out there. Svealoon is good though, so it's always hard to do that. Another consideration could be cutting a Lord. Brazen Borrower is not necessarily a 3-drop per se, but of course, because you can use it differently. This hand, wow. On the draw, we actually get to play Glassbone Mimic, but I think it's too slow anyways. This hand is worse, so we're down to 5. We can take back an Ether Vial and a Tide Chip. I think it was correct to mulligan the first hand, but the second hand was tough, so we need to mulligan that right away. This is fine. this is fine. We have a decent hand here. We can play down the Ether Vial. Okay, bro, what do you got for us? 2 mana passing. Slow start from the Murktide deck here. And in this situation, I think we want to either vial in the Tide Shaper, because now it looks like he has all his mana with both the Spy Bluff Canal and the Steamit. So let's just take it in the end step instead of playing it now. Playing it now would be giving him a full turn of information, though. No need to do that. You'll pay for your information, Manu. He looks at his own top card. That sometimes signals that they're looking for mana. Yeah, we get the Tide Shaper in there. Now we have something on board. Of course, he could be killing it off here, but interesting he chooses to do it this now. I don't really get that, but fine. We can take up our vial and we can play. Ooh, Salty is good here. Salty is good because he's threatening with a Murktide next turn. So I don't hate that. And if we want to play Trickster and Lord, we might as well do it in his end step. So he plays Expressive Iteration. Awesome card. I actually really think this is a good card. Of course, everybody knows that, but yeah, it's just really good value card. Otavara playing a Braid. Oh, so now we need to act. A Braid, that's fine. Good sideboard card. I think it's great that they put that. That's great against us. It has utility. So considering here, should we play Trickster or Lord and Trickster? But we need to be able to throw away something to Subtlety. So I think it's better to put in the Lord from this one and then play the Trickster in end step. And now we have 5 power on the table, and we have Subtlety protection up. A land would have been more interesting, but now we at least can pitch the Subtlety to Subtlety, so, and then play the Trickster. So we have a decent board, but he has many cards in hand. So I'm not loving this position, but we are putting him under pressure. He finds an island. When is the dragon coming? Fury. Oh, Fury hard casts. That is pretty rough. Of course we need to Subtlety this, but it'll come back. So this might be the... yeah, this is hard for us. Because we do this and then we can hit him for 8. But let's see, maybe we are lucky enough to draw a Lord. A Lord could be great. Ooh, we did draw a Lord. So the good thing here is that the Lord draw means that now the Fury is actually... hardcasting Fury is actually now pretty bad play. He can take 1 Lord, that's the only thing he can do, and then he taps out for it. So suddenly the tables have turned here by drawing the Lord. That was a great draw. We do have 8 of them, so sometimes I think it's fine. And, you know, looking at also adapting to the meta, as we talked about, Silvergill adapting to the meta. I think, so he concedes and we win. Great job. We are 3-1. 3-1 in the Modern League. Nice to see. But interesting to see, you know, the Lords. I think they're, again, so often it's a great top deck. All the decks we're playing against right now are running islands. Even Living End, even that isn't irrelevant. But Murktide run an island, even Grixis Death Shadow are running island because they're splashing blue money at them. And of course, the big bad wolf 4-color Omnath Yorion Control value deck, they're running islands. So the Lords are still good, even if we go down on Spreading Seas. I think the Spreading Seas are looking a bit worse. Against Tron, they're great, but Tron is... I think Tron has some difficult matchups against some of the big decks out there. We have again Lars Duken, and Lars is also a Danish name, Lars. And Lars mulligans to 6. Tough beat, Lars. I think we're just gonna skip ahead a bit here. Okay, and what do we do here? This hand, yeah, well, you can keep it. It's not an insanely good hand in any stretch, but it's something we can keep here. Yes, Lars, what do you do, Lars? The Duken, Lars Duken. A Triome, okay. So this could be the money pile again. We draw a tide shipper, and the Triumph is an island. So because we drew a tide shipper, I think there's a good argument just to run out the Isamara Hound of Conda fish here. The Isamara Fish of Conda. And now we can, of course, try to do something with tide shipper next turn to get him off his mana. Still no idea what we're playing against here. Foothills could also still be the Yorion pile. A pile of Yorion. Yeah. So he cracks it in upkeep. Interesting play. And he does ice the island. Okay. Interesting play here. Ice is actually a telling thing. Now we know it's rhinos, because normally the Yorion deck doesn't play Fire and Ice, but you can play Fire and Ice in Cascade decks. There's some weird rule that Fire and Ice effect actually is like a it has a different CMC. I don't know why that rule. I don't think really it makes sense. Fire and Ice should be a 2 CMC, I think, maybe. I don't know. But so now we know it's rhinos, and if we attack in here against rhinos, they would most likely be able to violent outburst, putting in at instant speed 2/4/4. So they have 8 of that effect, and if they had it in their own turn, they would of course use Charlotte's Agent, but they don't. It seems like they want to ambush with the rhinos. So we want to put in the master, because the master forces them to either kill off the master with something like the Fire and Ice, or they also rank that Bang Bust or whatever it's called, that red split card as well, so that can also do a shock effect. But by playing the master, because he only has 3 mana, he can both Crashing Rhinos and Bang Bust and kill off the master. So this will mean that, yeah, you can Violent Outburst all you want, sir. You get to do it, and if you do it now, we can't force because it's in our turn. But we can at least get in for a lot of damage, and we have multiple lords here. So he does it now in our end step, and puts in 2 rhinos. This is not great, but because of the violent burst being instant speed, the force negation is useless in that situation. Because Lars is playing it correctly here, he's playing it in our turn. One of the backdrops about the force negation. Okay, but we can raise this. He's on 10, but now he furies. Oh, this is a good fury. And Dead Gone was the name of the card, and he actually had that card. You can see he exiles it here with Fury. So he takes out a Lord and one of the Tide Shippers, and he can hit us down to 12. So not liking this situation now. But of course we still have action. We really want to draw land here, so we could Trickster and then double Lord next turn. The Lord is a bad draw. So either we go in for 2 damage, or and then Trickster in upkeep to tap down a Rhino, or we go in for 3 damage with the Master. But the problem with the Master play is that then he gets to beat us in so hard. So I think it's better to Trickster. Yeah, drawing the Master there was not optimal, and now we have Stomp up and running. So he even have a Bone Crusher Giant, which means that he will start being able to overpower us. And notice here that, as I talked about, resolving a living end from a Violent Outburst is completely different than resolving a Rhino. But the deck has so much other game, like now, playing the Bone Crusher Giant. This is a great 2-for-1, and that 4/3 is also a big problem for us. It's crushing our bones, that giant there. What's Avara? Well, it's a land. A little too late to the party. So I don't think we can do anything here. We can play a Lord and block the Bone Crusher Giant and then chump the Lord, and we're too far behind here. Okay, but let's get in our sideboard plane. We know what to do. This is a Cascade deck, so get in the Chalice and get in the Force Legation so we can counter that pesky Rhino card. Get in the Brazen Barrows could be a consideration, because bouncing one of the Rhinos is decent. I'm not sure about that, but maybe it's okay. And taking in counter spells, of course, against the Cascade effect is also good, and also against Fury. We take out the Spring Seas. It's difficult to keep them off the mana. They are 3 colors and they have decent mana, and they don't run like anything like Usa Saga, where you can get some value off the Spring Seas. So this is fine, and just cut a couple of Lords. Okay, we got it here. We got all the answers. This is even though we need a Merfolk for that, this is a great hand because we can play Chalice. And he plays Gemstone Caverns. Gemstone Caverns is a cool card. Okay, so considering here, are we playing the Chalice now? Or should we wait for him? Should we wait one turn to do it? Because he can resolve the effect now, and he might be doing some weird things. So we need to play it next turn. The hope was also to, let's say he had an answer to the Chalice, then if we drew a blue source, we would be able to just play the Chalice and hold up counterspell. But unfortunately we drew a Lord of Atlantis instead. This means that we can play our Adept, but the dream scenario would be to be able to protect the Chalice with the counterspell, and we really hoped that playing the Warlock Grove and then passing allowed us to get a blue source, so we can play counterspell now. We can't, and now we need to play the Chalice, but we might as well play the Adept first if we're playing the Chalice anyways. Let's see what we got. Warlock Grove, okay. So now we need to play the Chalice for 0. Which means that when he plays a Cascade, the Rhino counts as a 0 card, or 0 mana spell, and it will be automatically countered. He has Stomp, we can't do anything about that. And now the Bone Crusher Giant is taking a little trip on an adventure. So now he can play out the Bone Crusher Giant. Okay, so he didn't go for his combo, but he played out a really strong 2-for-1 instead. And actually we have terrible blocks against that one. We can play out an Adept, but we take a lot of damage from the Warlock Groves, which is unfortunate, as we're now getting beaten down by a Bone Crusher Giant soon. And suddenly our amazing game plan is being hit from another side here. So actually I think that's one of the issues for us against Rhino decks, is that sometimes they can do different things than their combo. They can just play a really good mid-range card like Bone Crusher Giant and Fire and Ice and stuff like that. So he starts beating in. And this is I don't want to take the damage here because we do have Lord. And let's see if we can draw a blue source here. Really good. Come on, blue source. Well, it's a blue source. It's a bit slow blue source. We can play down that one and we can attack in. There's no need to try to block here. I think we are on 14 and we're taking so much damage from the Warlock Grove. And playing the Lord seems like a concession play, because I think it's better just to see if we can trickster it down. Bone Crusher Giants have that engine that where you use a spell on it, it'll give you 2 damage, but the Merfolk Trickster is not a spell. And now he plays Solity, and that's a really good play by him. Of course, he didn't get a value from one of our creatures getting into play, but our 3/3 flyers is rough now, so I think we need to counter this, as we don't really have anything to... It's difficult for us to handle the Solity. We could play the Brazen Borrower instead, but I think we need to counter this. Also, the counterspell is just burning in hand. And now we're on 8. What does he do? The Chalice is looking, probably it has stopped him from utilizing, but now he can hardcast a Fury, killing the Adept and having another beater on ground. So difficult to see what we can do here. Draw another counterspell, not optimal. We needed to draw a blue source here so we can play both Trickster and Lord. So in this situation, the best play is to potentially Trickster something and then activate Mutavault and block. We can Trickster an attacker We can also Trickster Fury, but then would still be a pretty decent block for him, as he would still be able to kill one of our Mutavaults, or the Mutavault or the Trickster. So not loving this position. What are we doing here? I think we need to Trickster, and then we can also Brazen Borrow, of course, but those two targets, the Giant and the Fury, great mid-range cards with ETB effects. Indirect, you could say the Bone Crusher Giant is not an ETB, but it's still value, and bouncing that one is just not that hard. And you can just kill off the Trickster with the Stomp and then replay it again. So we're just gonna start by Trickstering down and begin combat. We can't do any fancy plays here, we just need to be as intelligent and defensive as possible. And we tap down the Fury. So the alternative play was to let them attack and then use the Fury, removing the double strike and then double block and taking 4, but then we were just going solo down. And here we can make a really awkward trade, but I think we're in such a bind here. There's not many good outputs. So now we can kill off the Bone Crusher Giant. Hopefully it doesn't have a removal spell. And now we know it only needs to deal with Fury. And for example, the top deck Sverloon could do that, and then we would be on 4. And then he needs to have nothing at all. But we don't draw Sverloon. We don't even draw anything you can use to, like for example, let's say we drew a blue source, then we could play a Lord and bounce the Fury. Then we were starting, building it. Then we would still go down to 4. So it's looking tough. This, and I think we need to. Unfortunately, we need to Brazen Borrow. Also, because the good play would be to Brazen Borrow, holding up Counterspell. Actually, if we had another blue source, that would have been a great play. But we can't do that either. And the Fury is lethal now because of double strike. Large. And now he can also instep, put the Chalice up to our hand, and now he has, of course, the entire turn Divine Outburst ready. We do have a counterspell for that, but it'll kill us no matter what. We can counter the Footfalls, but then we will just die to the Fury. And we are done for the day. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the run here. If you liked what you saw and some of the cool matches we had here against really strong decks today, I think we took the kind of the top from all decks was from the top 6-8 of modern decks right now. We Murktide twice, we get to meet the 4-color Omnath Control deck that's really looking strong. Living End looks strong, and also of course Crashing Footfalls here finishing off. And I think we had a decent run anyways. We got a 3-2 record. That's pretty good. And of course, if you like what I do here, remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing a lot more content, and it's going to be interesting the next couple of weeks as we will continuously adapt to the meta. We'll try different cards out, and I've gotten a lot of interesting tips and tricks, and looking into, okay, so how could we adjust in this meta? Some things I can say right now is that I think we should be going down a bit on Spreading Seas, maybe even putting some of them to the sideboard. Subtleties are looking strong. How many should we be playing? Chalices could be interesting to test out as well. So I think there's a lot of adjustments we could be doing, and in the next couple of weeks we will really try to evolve on the Merfolk deck. I think we got a pretty decent matchups. We beat Murktide again today, both times we met them, but we have problems with the Cascade decks. In the last run we beat the 4-color Yorion deck, and we beat the Murktide deck last time as well. We did beat Murktide twice today, and we beat the 4-color on that deck. And those two matchups, great that we can beat them, but we need to have some game against the Cascade decks as well. So some adjustments are to be made, but awesome. And if you want to check out that last run I did, you can put it up. It was a pretty bumpy ride, but it was fun, and we did some great games. So check that one out if you want to. Other than that, we'll just say see you next time, and thanks for watching.